Well, you know I love to rock. You know I love to roll. Together, what have we got? Well, it's rock and roll. Together, what we got is rock and roll. You know I love to twist. Well, I know you like to spin. Together we're moving. Come on and let's twist again. What we got is rock and roll. Everyone we got to have you by my side. I'm happy I've got you to catch me in case I slip and slide. Yeah, but we got something for sure when we hit that floor. Everybody's watching us rock and roll. When you give me the eye, I'll ask the band to play our song tonight. When I hold you in my arms, together we're rocking all night long. Together what we got is rock and roll. Well, together what we got is rock and roll. Well, together what we got is rock and roll.
Power Ace Radio.
Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of PAR Meet the Artist. The sunshine episode. It's summertime here in the UK and we're loving it. So today I have an incredible artist, again, also from the UK. It's not every day we get to have artists from the UK. So if I can get my guest to please introduce yourself, tell us your name, tell us where you're from. I already gave that away for what part of the UK. And tell us what you do. We know you're an artist, but tell us what you do, please.
Hello, I'm Frankie Rockin Smith, and I'm from Radio Surrey. And I'm a singer-songwriter. I write old school music, 50s, 60s type rock and roll. Recently I've just had my second official album out under the record label of MFB Music Management. And we've had a couple of single releases. I'm currently touring at the moment, doing a show of mixed rock and roll, Motown, reggae, and some pop hits. And we're continuing to have fun while doing it.
Perfect. That's really great. And I'm glad you went through all those genres. You know, for us, we say unity through music. Genre is another boundary that we don't really care about. And for you, you actually break that boundary. You go through different type of genres. But your specialty is in rock and roll.
That's right. Yeah.
Rock and roll. Obviously now looking at you face to face, like, okay, why rock and roll? You're so young. How did you discover this? Well, not how did you discover it, but where did this passion for old school rock and roll come from?
I think it comes from my family. You know, my dad was a big rock and roll fan, and he liked artists like Elvis Presley, Shakin' Stevens, Ricky Nelson, Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard, people like that. He also loved reggae, and that's where the reggae sort of comes in. And my mum was a big country fan of like Patsy Cline, Dolly Parton, and singers like that. So I've always loved country, rock and roll, and can slip a little bit of reggae or Motown in if I like. But I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I started getting in. My mum and dad saw that I had interest in music, and my dad taught me to dance. My dad was a great dancer. He's a little bit over. He's put on a few pounds now, so he can't quite do it as well as he used to, but he can still do it a bit. And he taught me to dance when I was about 4 years old, and I just got better and better. And then I wanted to sing with it, you know. So my mum taught me to sing, and then I started, you know, my voice started getting better. At the time I was like 10, 11, 12. They then booked me in for a studio. I recorded my first CD when I was about 12 years old. in the studio of just covers. And it wasn't long after I started writing songs at 13 years old. And many years later, obviously last year was my first official album. Although I've done CDs in the past of covers that I usually sell at my shows, I put my first official album out, which was called What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. And I featured some of the songs on there that I wrote when I was 13 from a young age. So a couple of those songs made it on the album. I held on to them for such a long time. And I was very pleased that they made the album because I had a lot of memories as a child writing them. And one of the songs, my first song I ever wrote, which was called I Can't Hide Any More Tears. And that's on the album. What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. So, but yeah, music's always been in my life from a very young age, as far as I can remember. And for the old school music, it goes back to my family. And my granddad, he had a big, massive cassette tape collection. And on these cassette tapes, you'd have artists like Hank Williams and Charlie Pride, country singers. And then sometimes he'd have like Bobby Darin and some Shakin' Stevens tapes and Elvis Presley and stuff like that. So like that's where I learned the old school music. But when I started going to school, kids my own age were into, like, at the time, Akon and Rihanna and Snoop Dogg and people like this. And I never had no interest for it. And I got made fun of at school, but I stood my ground and I'm still doing it now. So I'm pleased I did because I've had a lot of fun doing it, and it's brought a lot of enjoyment to other people, fans across the world, and a lot of enjoyment to myself.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm glad you stood your ground and kept doing it as well. Because I know that's why I asked a question like, at school, it couldn't have been that popular back in the days going, oh yeah, I like this. You're like, oh, you're not cool. But now, oh, who's not cool now? Who's laughing now? Kind of thing. So
that's right. Yeah.
And I kind of like to just obviously say congratulations on the release of the new album.
Thank you.
So, and out of all the names you could give it, you went straight, straight for the, what do they call it, the jugular. Like, let's go straight for the kill. And you called it Bring Back Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
So was there anything, or you just think, yeah, that's the simplest because it summarizes your life, or what? Is there anything specific about that title?
Well, the song is a very meaningful song, because what's going on with music today is they're using a lot of auto-tune and computers and technology to do their recordings. Where back in the day, it was real bands, drummers, the bass and the guitarists. And if one person made a mistake, they'd have to start all over again. And then when you go and went and saw people in concert, like, say, Elvis Presley or Tom Jones, Queen, Freddie Mercury, which also I'm a big fan of, Michael Jackson. I love Michael Jackson's music. But when you went to saw people like that, they was just as good live, if not better, as they were on the album. They didn't sound too much different. But I'm not knocking any particular artist. But when you go and see certain singers today, you can tell that their keys have been quite low and they're like struggling, or they're using playback and lip syncing. And I think, it shouldn't be that way. So I thought, bring back rock and roll. I started writing the lyrics down early this year. Actually, sorry, I started writing that last year, 2023, about September, October, something like that. And I went for all the old school singers, all the old songs, and I thought, give them all a mention. So in the lyrics, it's got like old Bill Haley started it off, because Bill Haley and the comments was one of the first of the 50s, 1953, I believe, would rock around the clock. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. That old song with a big old slap bass. Yeah. It's sort of got rock and roll going, and it opened a lot of doors for other rock and roll artists. So I thought, give that a mention. Like old Bill Haley started it off, Fats Domino and Chuck Berry came in at the top. So I started writing these lyrics down and adding singers in and songs names like Rock Around the Clock, like I said, and Hound Dog and stuff like that. I started writing lyrics down, and I thought this has got a good meaningful. There's a good meaning to this song, and also in the lyrics it mentions like when you go to see a singer at a show, they don't sound the same live. They're singing it way too low. So there's that in there, and I thought, well, bring back rock and roll as a message, because the aim is for this album, the mission for me is to get rock and roll, the old school music, out to the new generation, and sort of like, you know, where I'm young, I'm at that sort of age where Elvis Presley and those singers, Buddy Holly and people like that, were at my age in their 20s and could do it. So I thought, you know, it's been 50 or 60 years ago now on. Let's try to recreate that. Because I love what Shakin' Stevens done. I'm a big fan of Shakin' Stevens. He's my idol. And he came around in the 70s, but in the 80s, he got signed to Epic Records. He had to take rock and roll into the 80s, where electro music was out, pop music, funk, ska, all this type of music, and there wasn't really a place for him in the charts or on top of the pops for rock and roll music. But he did it, and actually, he was the UK's biggest selling artist of the UK during the 80s. He had over 40 top consecutive hits. So I thought, if he did it in the 80s, where, you know, rock and roll had pretty much died out, I thought, why not try to do it now to the 21st century? So Michelle from MFB Music Management, he has been a big supporter and a great help with this album. And he backed me all the way. He said, let's push it. And we had some suggestions, and we came up with some ideas for the title. We said, why not just hit them with it? Bring back rock and roll. And that's how that came around. Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic. And to be honest, well, in my opinion, I think you got it right. You know, I think it's spotless. You know, it is what it is. You don't have to think about, oh, what is this about? 14 tracks showing a collection, your best of, you know, as you said, even from childhood to, you know, to be honest, I can't wait to hear it. And let's just let me divert into this random question. Anyway, so the 14 tracks inside this album, it reminds me of, like, you know, a dish. There was a plate of food on the table with 14 different things on it, or, you know, it's a plate of a variety. If this album was a dish, what dish would it be, and what sort of?
Oh, that's a hard one. Oh, what sort of dish would it be? You know, because, well, it's got a little bit of everything for everyone. So it's got like some ballads in there, you know, and some of my female fans, they love the ballads and the slow ones, and where some of the teddy boys, when I go to the rock and roll clubs and do the shows, they love the fast rock and roll ones, so they can get up and jive and dance to them. And then you've got like a couple of strollers, you know, like mid-tempo songs where sometimes they do the sort of they get in a line and do like, it's not line dancing, it's like line dancing, strolling. They do stroller dances, and a group goes to stroller classes and they learn how to do a specific dance. When you get to the strollers, so there's a little bit of everything in there for everybody. So I describe it as a buffet, you know, the Chinese or Indian buffet, where there's a little mixture of Chinese food. You got some chips, you got I don't know, curry and rice. There's a little bit of everything for everybody in there.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I like the sound of that. You know, a buffet, not just one dish. It's a you
go there and you can choose. They can go through the album and they can pick what song they like. This one's for that person, this one's for that. You know, you can't please everybody, but there's a little something in there, I think, for everyone.
No, absolutely, yeah. A little bit of chips there, a little bit of bacon there. Why not? Well, yeah, thank you so much for that answer. That's pretty cool. And so on this, you've done a lot of collaborations, but there's one particular one where you did with Cara Jones and Ricky Allen.
That's right.
So how did this collaboration come about? You know, because working with somebody is hard, and but to get it right,
Yeah.
these two geniuses, how
Yeah.
did that go by?
Well, I was honoured when Ricky Aaron got back to me, because I saw him on a TV show. I think it might have been ITV, and it was called The World's Greatest Elvis. So there was like 50 odd Elvis tributes in this competition, and only the top guys made it, onto the TV. And he were on that TV show, and I personally thought he should have won it at the time, but he got in the top 10 or top 20, something like that, which was really good, considering all the Elvis Presley tributes around the world. And then I started following him on YouTube, and I just loved the stuff that he put out there. And he also did other rock and roll songs as well. And he's been going, for quite a few years now, and he's been very successful in competitions. He's won multiple competitions. He's toured all over England. I think he's been abroad as well. He's performed with bands, theatres and stuff like that. And I thought, I wonder if Ricky would, because I've been friends with him on Facebook for quite a while. So I thought, let's see if Ricky would. Getting somebody like Ricky on the album, who has a good fan base and has a good amount of followers, could help somebody like me who's young, starting out and trying to get rock and roll out there. And Ricky supported me on that, and he said, yeah, sure, what tracks you got? So we sent a few over, and he said, like, What Happened to the Good Old Music Back in the Day, which is another song that's pretty similar in the lyrics to Bring Back Rock and Roll, but it's a different story. Yeah, it's questioning what happened to the good old music and stuff like that. So Ricky said, yeah, sure. So he picked that one, and he recorded at his studio. He sent it back to me. I was blown away, very, very pleased with it. And I got mine recorded, and we had some harmonies together with that, and that came out, wonderful. It was brilliant. And Cara Jones, she's another fantastic, talented female vocalist. She's done lots and lots of stuff. She's done theatre shows. She's done musicals, and she's been around. She's done quite a lot. And her dad had toured with Bay City Rollers and people like that. I think he met Billy Fury and people like that. And so she'd been around and done a lot, and done shows and recorded albums of her own. And we've been friends on Facebook for quite some time. So I asked her if she'd take part. And when she said yeah, I thought, yes, we've got somebody else that, that knows their music. And she also does all the old school music. She does like 60s, 70s, some of the 80s as well. She can mix it up. She does Brenda Lee, Connie Francis, some of the 60s female singers. And I thought, this is the sort of voice we need for the album, because she has that like distinctive old sound, like the singers from the 60s. And I thought this will go perfect for the album. And when she did it, it came out perfect, because there's two versions of Bring Back Rock and Roll on the album. I think Bring Back Rock and Roll was at track number 2, and at the end we got a reprise. So when me and Cara comes on and does it together, but also my guitarist Mark D Rosario, he's a fantastic guitarist in Australia, and I got him on board by messaging him, and I heard him years ago on YouTube, and I thought, let's get this guy on board. He's a fantastic guitarist. He plays like Chuck Berry, Johnny B. Good, and all that type of stuff. And he did 2 versions for me. So he did a version that was rocking, more up rocking, and a version that was more laid back, more like a bit like the Ain't Marvin and the Shadows sort of feel. And I could not choose between the two. So I thought, let's choose the rocking one as a solo, and have the more laid back one, the shadow type feel, as a duet. And Cara was the perfect person for that track.
Wow. That is really, really, really cool. Because these two artists are super incredible.
Yeah.
We definitely can't fault that. And to be able to get them on, they obviously saw the talents that you have is raw and it's original, and you have a passion for it, which shines. And you say about artists recording and actually they don't sound good live, and so there's one other thing we do on the show, and that is if you can give us like just a little snippet of maybe something, something that's just hot off the press, or maybe something in the arcade, or the stage is yours. Just a little performance of anything that you like.
Okay. Well, it's kind of hot in the day. My vocals feels a bit tight. It's hard to breathe, but I'll give it a go for you. Yeah. I'll try my single, which I've had some good news on this single. I'd just under 30,000 streamers on Spotify because it went over to Brazil, 105.9 FM, and within one day it hit 27,000 streams. And I got the news the next day that it hit #1 in the international charts. So I'm very proud of that. That's something, I thought, yes, I've got something out there in a chart. So I'll give that one a go if you like. This one is What We Got Is Rock and Roll. Well, I love to rock. I love to roll. Together, what have we got? Well, it's rock and roll. Together, what we got is rock and roll. I love to twist. Well, I know you like to spin. Together we're moving. Come on and let's twist again. What we got is rock and roll. Everyone we got to have you by my side. I'm happy I've got you to catch me in case I slip and slide. Yeah, but we got something for sure when we hit that floor. Everybody's watching us rock and roll. When you give me the eye, I'll ask the band to play our song tonight. When I hold you in my arms, together we're rocking all night long. Together what we got is rock and roll. Well, together what we got is rock and roll. Well, together what we got is rock and roll. Wow. A little slip up there with the chords. I do apologize about that.
That is amazing. You said your voice is not warm or wow. I can't expect it to be any better. Thank you so much for that performance.
Thank you very much.
And let's cover this bit before we digress. Where can people go and find all your music? I know there's so much out there. How can people get hold of you?
Well, I've got 2 official albums out there now and 6 singles, and all those albums and singles are available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Deezer, so many more. They're on all major streaming platforms, YouTube as well. If they want to find the album, on YouTube or wherever, it's just Frankie Rockin Smith Topic or Frankie Rockin Smith Bring Back Rock and Roll, or last year's album, Frankie Rockin Smith What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. And I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I also do signed CDs for the people that still play CDs. I'm a big massive collector of CDs and even vinyl. Actually, I still collect vinyl. Still a big record collection. Half of them was my dad's. He gave me, and I still looked after him. So I do signed CDs on Facebook, and if somebody messages me and says my name is John or Jane or whatever the names are, I sign them, personalise them, and get them sent out first class. So if they want to look me up on there, just type Frankie Rockin Smith, and they'll get my my personal account, and I also have a Facebook page. But there's 2 singles that's been released. You know, one got released in April, one got released at the end of May, and the singles are called "At the Record Up Tonight," and the one I just played, "What We Got Is Rock and Roll." But yeah, but there's also a lot of stuff with me on YouTube, like live stuff, some live videos, some covers over the years, and that's where I sort of mix it up, where there's reggae stuff and Motown, there's pop, there's rock and roll. So this album, this is just all based on the 50s, 60s rock and roll, country, rhythm and blues. But my last year's album was a very personal album, as it was my first album. I wrote a song about, you know, the COVID situation, the lockdown situation, because on my dad's side, my dad's uncle Abraham's wife Linda, my auntie Linda, she passed away from COVID, and my uncle Reuben on my mum's side passed away due to COVID. And I mean, it was such a scary, dramatic time. It was like none of us could get out to work and do what we loved. I couldn't do my gigs and do nothing like that. So, you know, it really got to me and got me down, and we couldn't get out to work or nothing like that. I mean, people lost loved ones. It was terrible times. And my son, during that time, also, just before the lockdown came around, he had a major heart operation. You might have seen him in the back of the video. Came in early. I was trying to shush him out. But yeah, he had a major heart operation, and during the operation, his diaphragm got damaged. So he'd have a tracheostomy, and we had to be fully trained to get him home. And just getting through that, you know, we had to do 24-hour watch with him. I had to take overnight shifts, and so we had to watch him during the day. And so there was no nurses to come out, so we had to take over from that and watch him 24 hours a day. So that really got to me and got me down. But then when lockdown was over and we were allowed out to do what we love, you know, I could get back out working again. So I do gardening, you see, during the week, and I do music on the weekends. When I was able to get back to work and meet some of my fans again and do what I loved, you know, it just makes you appreciate life so much more. You know, I certainly do. And I wrote a song about it. So that song went out to all the people, you know, that lost loved ones during COVID and went through tough times, for those who suffered with depression, anxiety. So I wrote the song, and I called it "What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger." And then somebody said to me, "Oh, there's already been a song called that." I said, "Has there?" I listened to it. It was by Kelly Clarkson. I said, "Oh no, how can I change the lyrics now?" So then somebody said to me, "Well, you know, there's been a Benny King's version of Stand By Me, and Oasis wrote a song called Stand By Me, but 2 different songs." So I thought, well, yeah. So when I looked it up, there's been loads of songs with different names. So I thought, I wasn't copying the melody or the tune or anything. It was just title that came in my head. And I wrote that, and that hit #1 in the UK Talk Radio chart, the official Top 100 last year. So I was very proud of that, and a lot of people could relate to the song. So that's a great album to look up as well, that one. And that adds some pop, rock and roll. So that had a little mixture on that album. But that was a very personal album, that one.
That is that's a very, very deep story. Also, what we have to go and search for first is Frankie Rockin without the G.
That's right.
That's it. And you know, we kind of know we're running out of time, but we have to touch on that story, on how deep it is. And you know, when people go, yeah, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. That you look at a situation and you think, wow, this is everything is all horrible. This is just, there's nothing good come out of this. You can't see the silver lining. And you know, that happening, and you manage to bring yourself together, pull yourself together. It's all down to you, you know, and maybe the immediate people around you, but you had to do a lot to overcome that. And you know, that has become a great success story. I'm glad we got to see your on there at the back end, and you know, it's all positive vibes. I'm really, really glad to hear that. I'm even I appreciate you sharing. It's not something maybe everybody love to share their personal story, but share that with us. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank you. Cheers. Thank you. I really enjoyed it today. It's been great.
Thank you. And kind of any kind of closing remarks to your fans, the ones that have been rocking with you from time and the new ones that are rocking with you now?
Well, I'd just like to say, yeah, big thank you to the fans that supported me, voted for me in the voting charts, and that has supported my music. That's, you know, downloaded and streamed and brought the CDs. That's helped me get, you know, 4 number ones now. So I'm really, really proud of that. And I'd just like to say a big thank you to the fans, and also to Marcel from MFB Music Management. I couldn't have done it without you, if you're listening. And my band members who helped me get this recent album, Bring Back Rock and Roll, together. So it's Mark D. Rosario on guitar, lead and rhythm guitar. Big thank you to you, my friend, if you're listening. I couldn't have done it without him either. Lewis Chamberlain, my good friend on piano, great piano player. He plays just like Jerry Lee Lewis. So if you want to look him up, his name's Lewis Chamberlain. He plays all type Jerry Lee Lewis stuff. Big thank you to him. To Keith Southwood, my bass player, a great bass player. He plays the big old slap bass, like the old Bill Haley in the comments. Great, couldn't have done it without him either. And Esteban Rotuno, great drum player. You know, he adds that rocking sound to it. And to Ricky Aaron and Cara Jones, thank you for taking part. To our manager Barbara for supporting me and getting me the bookings, shows, and helping support me for this last 2 or 3 years. And a big thank you to yourself for having me on your show.
Most welcome. And that's a great closing remark. But there is one thing that I need to, before we close up, you know, so your performance, you know, you do recordings, but your performance, there's one thing that comes out of it, and you know, the shaky leg. And here we've heard the insight of where, you know, who taught you how to dance, who taught you how to go through all of these performances. But doing performance from such a young age, is there something that has kind of carried on with you all through those times? And is there something that you've like, oh yeah, this is all new? Now I've carried this and I've developed this particular skill.
Yeah, well, the love for music has always been there, and it's the greatest, you know, enjoyment and gift I could have ever had. Times when I've suffered with anxiety over the years, you know, been down, depression, but music has helped me through it all. And God's given me that talent to use, to share with people. So I thank God for that, you know, and I'm just so happy that I can do for what I always wanted to do from a child. You know, I get in a room and put a little flashlight on myself, turn all the lights out, and pretend I'm performing to an audience, and add a little tape player, little recorder. I'll say, thank you very much, everybody. See you tomorrow night. Good night. God bless. And that was from like 5 years old. So to think that I'm actually doing it now in front of an audience every week, getting to meet new people, different people every week. You know, and sometimes people can just say one thing and it can light your life up, you know, just say like, oh, you're amazing, you're great, you're this, you're that. And it just touches my heart so much for the comments and nice words I receive. And friends, I've made so many friends throughout the shows. You know, some person came to me and said, "Oh, it's great what you're doing." You know, I was doing a few Elvis Presley songs that night, and I think it was the time that, you know, it was near his death, and I sort of did a little tribute and I said, "That's great what you're doing." You know, that's really what Elvis Presley wanted to do. Carry on, you know, releasing rock and roll and doing this type of stuff. So the I can never explain within words how truly grateful I am for the music and the friends and everything. Really, it's just the greatest enjoyment. And I look at it this way: if you enjoy what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. So to me, I'm not working; I'm just living the dream and enjoying what I'm doing.
Perfect. You know what? I think that's a great closing remark. You nailed it on the head. I'd like to say thank you so much for coming to bless us with your presence. Could talk to you forever. You have an amazing story, and passion for what you do, which shines through in single thing you say. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Right, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Bye.
More music variety on Power Ace Radio.